Today, I think we're going to fly from Jackson Hole down to Tooele, Utah. Let's start heading south and find some good weather. Went ahead and NeoFly, got it all set up. We got 3 passengers, 534 pounds, 194 miles. Got it all in the system there. I have our plane all loaded up. We're a little bit overweight. Don't tell nobody. We'll deal with it. It'll be just fine. We're going to do something a little different today. We are going to fly an Ifr Low Altitude Flight. So we're going to go ahead and put that in there. Okay, it's going to show us at 9,000 feet. That's kind of what we're going to be doing for what the simulator wants us to do. So, okay. We're going to go ahead, and I don't know why it's froze up on me. Okay, so our plane's loaded. We're going from Jackson to Tooele, Utah. Let's fly this. Hopefully our weather will be a little better today. Not quite sure. We'll just fly at IFR anyway. Ew. Okay. That's why it's nose high, is the wheel's not even on the ground. Nice. Okay, let's make sure my co-pilot isn't talking. Get the radios up. Okay, back in Jackson Hole. Let's go ahead and get NeoFly connected. Oh, it didn't save my weights. Alright. We can do this. So pilot weight is always 170. And then I have 3 passengers that averages out to 178. Whoops. I already did this. I don't know why I didn't save it.
Transporter from dispatch. It's a passenger mission waiting for you. The boarding will start as soon as you are at the boarding parking. Transporter form dispatch. Boarding passenger, please stand by.
Okay, we're already icing up a little bit on our windshield, sitting on the ground, of course. Here we go again. Okay, let's get this going. Both tanks. Clear.
Transporter, boarding is complete. You can start your flight.
I've kind of already gone over what I do and what things look like on here, so I'm just gonna do my thing, get it all going. Got a few things different since this is an IFR flight. We're going to be talking to. Let's get our clearance.
Jackson ground, Sierra Kilo Echo, Echo Tango, Echo Romeo IFR to Kilo Tango Victor Yankee, ready to copy.
Sierra Kilo Echo, Echo Tango, Echo Romeo is cleared to Kilo Tango Victor Yankee Airport as filed. Takeoff runway 1 climb and maintain 9,000 feet. Departure frequency is 133.25 squawk 240 tree.
Okay, we got to repeat back what he said to us. We're going to take off runway 1, climb to 9,000 feet, the frequency, and I squawked on my transponder 2403. So let's...
Tango Echo Romeo, did you hear my last transmission?
Patience, I'm getting there. Here you go.
Sierra Kilo Echo Echo Tango Echo Romeo cleared to Kilo Tango Victor Yankee Airport as filed. Takeoff runway 1 climb and maintain 9,000 feet. Departure on 133.25 squawk 240 tree.
Tango Echo Romeo, read back correct. Contact ground on 124.55. Good day.
Okay, we got our clearance, and I do not know why. Wow, a lot of things didn't transfer over. So I'm going to do this real quick, because I did have full fuel tanks. I don't know why it didn't. See, it's right there. I'll buy it. No, I don't want to remove, but I want it to be on my plane. Yeah, it's not filling our plane up. Let's go in here and do it manually. It keeps going back to 6. I have no idea what it's doing. Okay, we'll deal with it. Let's get this fired back up. Not quite sure why it's doing what it's doing. Okay. Just did by, let's request taxi to
Jackson
runway
ground Sierra
1.
Kilo Echo Echo Tango Echo Romeo with Golf ready to taxi IFR.
Sierra Kilo Echo Echo Tango Echo Romeo, taxi to and hold short of runway 1 via taxiway Alpha. Contact tower on 118.075 when ready.
Okay, we're gonna hold short of runway 1.
Taxiing hold short runway 1 via taxiway Alpha Tango Echo Romeo.
Show us our little airport on our right screen to taxi out. Just trying to see if our taxiway keeps heading out there, because it looks like it disappeared, but I think we're good. Doing 20 knots or slow down. Hopefully we get to 9,000 feet, which isn't very high. We might still be in this foggy stuff we're dealing with. Okay, here it is, runway 1. We could go up into them you can take off in them chevrons, but you cannot land, but we got plenty. Let's tune to tower. Request IFR.
Tower Sierra Kilo Echo Echo Tango Echo Romeo ready for IFR departure runway 1.
Sierra Kilo Echo Echo Tango Echo Romeo, altimeter 30.19er 1019er at 10. Cleared for takeoff runway 1.
Okay, we're cleared to take off. We're going to acknowledge.
Cleared for takeoff runway 1 Sierra Kilo Echo Echo Tango Echo Romeo.
Okay, 1 notch of flap. All my lights are on. Did a quick mixture adjustment right there, so I think we're just going to roll and take off. Lights are on, 1 notch of flaps, mixture. Runway's not very visible. Do my center my bug. Let's rotate. A little heavier today than we were.
Transporter, good flight.
Okay, now we just wait for the tower to tell us what to do. We're just gonna do our runway heading. Bring my flaps up. And activate my autopilot.
Tango Echo Romeo, contact Salt Lake Center on 133.25. Good day.
Gonna have a lot more radio work to do. 33.25.
133.25 Tango Echo Romeo.
Okay, we're gonna tune in the radio and contact Salt Lake Center.
Salt Lake Center, Sierra Kilo Echo Echo Tango Echo Romeo is passing 7,000 feet, climbing 9,000 feet.
Sierra Kilo Echo Echo Tango Echo Romeo Salt Lake Center altimeter 30.19er. Continue to GIYER as planned.
Okay. Gonna go ahead and my nav. We're gonna fly out here to a point, then make our turn. Takes us a while to get out of this valley. Okay, now I got my autopilot set to nav. Our magenta line's right here. We're right here, and it looks like we're gonna fly right up the canyon, up that canyon. By then our altitude will be enough that we can start heading south. IFRs are quite a bit different than VOR. Or or VFR, I should say. VFR, you can turn around and would be heading south already, but okay, I'm gonna go ahead and shut my taxi lights off and leave my landing lights on. We have to leave our landing lights on. Okay, there, we're gonna make our turn. The plane automatically does it for us, so we're basically just monitoring everything to make sure. We're not icing up. Well, we're icing up a little bit around our windows. That's the first.
Romeo climb and maintain 10,000 feet.
10,000 feet.
Climb and maintain 10,000 feet Tango Echo Romeo.
Okay, I just switched my autopilot to climb to 10,000. Now we better slow our
Romeo climb and maintain 12,000 feet.
Oh, she's going to be bugging us now. Now I got to
Climb and maintain 12,000 feet Tango Echo Romeo.
2 more. Okay, as I climb, I'm playing with my mixture, leaning out a little bit. I want to climb fairly fast and get above these clouds so we don't accumulate any more ice as much as we already are. Okay, you can see our window over here. Our red's getting less and less, so. And right now this is a 7.5 mile circle around the plane, and we can go all the way out to, that's 400 miles around the plane. That's a little drastic though. When we're in these mountains like this, I like to have it zoomed in, so at least we can see. Might be a little loud, so let's take a look outside. Oh, that is loud. That was horribly loud, but you could see the icing starting on the front of the plane and on the leading edge of the wings, so we have to pay attention to this. There's really no way to get rid of it. Maybe it's all right. My level is horrible. It's loud. I'll check the recording to see how bad it is. Now we can deviate off our course a little bit. If we see a big cloud here, we could go around the cloud. You just gotta, we can't do it in Microsoft Flight Simulator. In real life you can get a 10-degree left or right off of course, and they'll grant it to you. This we really don't have. We got requesters to the next waypoint, or we can increase or decrease or cancel. That's really all the choices we have. So I just go ahead and deviate, especially today. If I see a big cloud, I'm not going to fly in it because we'll ice up. I'll just do what I can do to get around it. Okay, we're seeing a lot more black on my screen, so that tells us we're getting pretty much above. And I'll even fly over the green part pretty comfortably. Okay, there's our 12,000 feet. And flying right here, we should start losing ice. Okay, now that we're at cruising altitude, I'm going to play with my mixture. I'm going to watch my temperatures. Because as I lean it, it gets hot, hot. And then as it gets...
Tango Echo Romeo descend and maintain 10,000 feet.
Okay.
Descend and maintain 10,000 feet. Tango Echo Romeo.
It doesn't make much sense. Kind of stuttering today, and I don't know why. It's usually smooth as silk. I really don't want to go down, but we'll go down slowly. Usually a nice...
Tango Echo Romeo, please expedite your descent 10,000 feet.
I figured she'd start yelling at us. I don't think we have to. No, we don't. A good comfortable is like 500 feet, 600, 700 feet. If you start doing any more than that, it starts to be uncomfortable for the people on board. Your ears need to pop because we're not in a pressurized fuselage, so we actually feel the altitude we're at. So you don't want to make your passengers uncomfortable. So I like to descend around 500-700 feet, but I want to kind of stay up here because I got a feeling she's going to tell us to go back up for some reason, but we're going down at 500 feet a minute.
Tango Echo Romeo, please expedite your descent 10,000 feet.
Just going to ignore her for now. And I'm still wide open cruise speed. I was doing my mixtures. Now we're going down. Let's go ahead and set our prop for cruise. I'm going to bring her back to like, well, let's try 2250. And we'll bring our manifold pressure back into the green because I was wide open. So we'll try 26 on the manifold, 20 close to 2250 on our RPM. Let's see how that performs. I'll just have to figure out the sweet spot with different settings.
Tango Echo Romeo, please expedite your descent 10,000 feet.
She wants us to hurry up and get down so she can tell us to climb again. How much you want to bet? Okay, that's my maximum. I'm dropping at 700 feet a minute. But the ground's coming close to us. I don't know why. Sometimes flying low via or IFR with the air traffic control, they do a lot of stupid things. Okay. And we might just request a higher altitude and climb up out of here because we're playing around with icing at this altitude, it looks like. Pretty close to them mountains right in front of us. Okay, we're almost to 10, so I'm going to request. They're keeping us at an even altitude, so let's go up 16,000 feet. We'll need to use oxygen, but that's just putting tubes in your nose and breathe through your nose. So let's request altitude increase.
Salt Lake Center Tango Echo Romeo. Request
What?
15,000 feet.
Tango Echo Romeo climb and maintain 15,000 feet.
Okay, I requested 6, they gave me 5, not quite sure.
Tango Echo Romeo, did you copy?
Oh, sorry. Yes, I did.
Climb and maintain 15,000 feet Tango Echo Romeo.
Now we gotta max everything out again for our climb. Go up and bleed. This is when I wish I could just set my airspeed to 110 knots and the plane will just maintain that speed. Right now I'm doing a vertical speed, so I could actually, if I don't pay attention, the plane will just stay at this and it'll stall out. But if I set it to climb for speed, it locks onto that speed and you don't have to worry about it. But we'll climb like this until we start getting into the 90s. And then we'll level off and maintain 90 knots in our climb out. Then we get into the jets and turboprops. We'll be flying at a higher altitude and not have to play this mountain hopping stuff like we do with a little plane. Which should be coming soon. I was hoping we could get that Baron 58 in Tooele, but it's not on the list. There is a Cessna 208 Caravan. That's a turboprop single for a couple million. Okay, we're down to 86, so I'm gonna start dropping until I can maintain that. Go to 800, 600. Okay, at 600 feet we're starting to gain a little bit, but as we go up I'll have to trim that back. This has pretty good performance at this altitude. I kind of like this turboed motor. So looks like we're accumulating quite a bit of ice. I can start seeing it right here in the center, all along the side, down around this side. There's a pretty good cloud bank in front of us that we're climbing above, so this is I'm going to request one more. We need to be in the evens. I don't know why it only. What did it tell? Yeah, I requested. So let's ask for one more.
Salt Lake Center Tango Echo Romeo. Request 16,000 feet.
Tango Echo Romeo, climb and maintain 15,000 feet. Expect 16,000 feet.
Copy, copy. That's what I want. That's what I wanted in the first place.
Climb and maintain 15,000 feet. Expect 16,000 feet Tango Echo Romeo.
It's real glitchy today. I'm not quite sure why. Might have to just shut everything off and restart and start all over again. We'll see. But the computer is doing quite a bit. It's running the simulator, it's running the recording OBS, and it is also running NeoFly all at the same time, so it's loaded up pretty good. I need to figure out a way to have a computer do the recording and then just let the gaming computer do the flight sim and the NeoFly. But it actually does a pretty good job. It's a pretty stout gaming computer, so. And I'm also going to record my sectional and let you kind of see what I look for on the sectionals and all the information that SkyVectors give me on my other computer screen. Because while we're just climbing, really nothing going on. Let's go see what Tooele has to offer for us. Yeah, we have some ILS's approach, RNAV approach to runway 17. Okay, there's our 16. I've already got the autopilot set to 16, so. Okay, let's take a look while we're sitting here flying. I've got the information to. Oh, sorry.
Climb and maintain 16,000 feet Tango Echo Romeo.
You cannot ignore them, you have to respond. Okay, the elevation of the airport's 4321. Open to the public, it opened back in 77. There's only one runway, runway 17 and 35, 6,100 feet long, 100 feet wide, asphalt, good condition. Medium intensity lighting. Runway 17 is 179 degrees true. 35, runway 35 is 359 true. So basically north and south runway. Okay, we do have RNAV procedures, ILS or local. So I'll bring up. Let's try to get a RNAV approach. And this is an RNAV plate right here. Kind of gives you a picture of how we're going to come in here. Here's our airport right here, runway 17. We're probably going to try to enter Emont, come into the holding pattern, and it'd basically be a straight in. Now if we were coming from the south, we would hit Salta, enter this way, but we're coming from the north, so we want to keep in mind we want to enter that RNAV at Emont. Then we come down here a little lower, our holding pattern, here's our altitude, is 8,100 feet to Wiget. So we come back up here, this should be 8,100 feet. Here's Wiget, and our descent will start at Wiget. Wiget to Jonek. So here's Wiget to Jonek. We'll go from 8,100 feet to 6,100 feet. And between that, 6.8 nautical miles. So it kind of gives you a picture coming in at 81, dropping down to 61. Another 4.6 miles is 1 nautical mile to runway 17. So we just keep that descent all the way into the runway. Right here you see this little arrow going up. You have minimums. here's your minimums right here, depending on what aircraft you're running. If you do not have the runway within sight, say 200-300 feet off the ground, you have to do what they call a missed approach. So you pull up, you take off, and then here's your information for your missed approach. You'll climb to back up to the 8,100 feet, follow this line back, get back into this holding pattern, and then try it again. And you can do this all blind. You can do this without seeing nothing until you're the 200-300 feet off the ground. So that's kind of what the plate looks like. That's kind of what we will try for. Don't know what the winds are. We'll see if that works. Then here's our sectional. So here was our Jackson Hole Airport. It just, I'm not flying this. We've got a, this isn't our actual route, but it's a straight magenta line to Tooele. Here's Salt Lake City. Here's the Great Salt Lake, Bear Lake. So we're just going to fly straight there. So that's what a VO sectional looks like. And you can come down here and scroll around and you can see the mountain tops. So we took off here, flew around, came down the valley, and then now we're flying this way. You see this square right here? That's just like a little section, and there's a number, 11.6. What that's telling you, if you're in this square at all, you have the minimum altitude is 11.6. So you want to be a higher. See, in this square, it's 14.1. So that's the highest point in this. I mean, you could be clear to this side and be just fine. Somewhere in this square, there is ground at 14.1, 12.9, 12.0, 9.6, and it's every square, covers the whole United States. So if you want to choose your altitude, you just look at your magenta line and look at your minimum altitudes on all that. Pick one that's definitely higher than your highest point, then you never have to worry about it the whole trip. Okay, that's kind of what you look for in sectionals. Now we'll get back to flying. Nothing really much going on. We do have our cruising altitude, so we'll go back to our, that's 140, almost 147. So we'll try our 2250. Get back into the green, do 28. And you see our speeds bleeding off. I mean, we can keep it wrapped up like that, but we're just burning a lot of fuel. A little turbulence, kind of bouncing around. Looks like we're above the clouds. Our ice looks like it's leaving the plane. And at this altitude, we would definitely have our oxygen on. Anything over 14,000 feet. And it's just basically an oxygen bottle on board, and you just stick your little, you can wear a mask. That kind of makes it tough talking on the radio, or you can just loop your oxygen into your nose, and kind of like you're in the hospital, and breathe in your nose, out your mouth. Then you don't get hypoxia. Lack of oxygen makes you do stupid things. So, but we're fine. Okay, let's take a look outside again. Hopefully our volumes aren't too screwed up. Still see I have all of my instruments, so I can still see as we're flying. Nice look at the plane. About 10 o'clock in the morning right now, so the sun's just coming up. I don't see any more icing on us, so I think we've lost all our... Looking, there's a little bit at the bottom of our column, but we're looking pretty clean. Sweet. It's loud outside. So we burned off most of our ice. So right now we're doing 151 knots ground speed. True airspeed's 158 and indicated airspeed's 128 with about a 19-18 crosswind coming from our right to left. So this is when you want a nice 20-30 mile an hour tailwind, because then we'd be doing 180 miles an hour ground speed. And our ET estimated time of arrival is about 53 minutes to Tooele. This is one of our longest flights. Now that's 54 minutes to our next waypoint, which is 134 miles, so it's going to be even longer than that. Let's scroll out here and kind of see. Yeah, that waypoint's going to be right pretty close to the Great Salt Lake, so we'll have to fly the Great Salt Lake. So this is going to be a pretty long flight in a single engine. But we just need to get farther south.
Romeo, contact Salt Lake Center on 128.35. Good day.
128.35 for Tango Echo Romeo.
Switch my radios and contact.
Salt Lake Center, Sierra Kilo Echo Echo Tango Echo Romeo, 16,000 feet.
Sierra Kilo Echo Echo Tango Echo Romeo, Salt Lake Center, altimeter 30.20, continue as planned.
Okay, our altimeter barometer has changed, so I'll readjust that. It's not going to make a lot of difference, but every time that I give you that number, double check and adjust accordingly. So let's see what it does if I'm just going to figure this plane out and sell it, I know. Okay, we'll turn her up to 2300 RPM. So we're bouncing right around the 2678 130 mark. There's kind of a little bit of bump, little turbulence. Now we could fly this VFR. We could have just taken off, got above the clouds, and then requested flight following. But the problem is, if we were having to descend right now, we have no option. There's no blue sky, there's no holes to drop through, so we'd have to go IFR to actually drop through the clouds. So it's probably best to start IFR, and once we get close to the airport, if it's blue skies and we can see the ground, we can cancel IFR at any time and get a little more freedom. Let's see what the weather is showing. It is showing absolute no wind. 10 statute mile visibility. That's either what we're getting or it's not giving us the weather at all. Because usually 10 statute miles is pretty much max, and no wind at all is kind of sketchy. So I don't know if we're getting the right picture there or not. Let's go to Salt Lake. Yeah, it might be true, because Salt Lake City International Airport's showing a 3-knot wind from 270 degrees, 10 statute mile. That might be 3 knots, no biggie. And along our path, see, it looks like we're going to be in cloud cover all the way to Logan. So we'll be into Utah with this. Oh, it's starting to break up already. Nice. Hill Air Force Base shows 4 knots at 340 degrees, 10 statute miles, broken at 2,200 feet. So we got clouds. And it showed no wind at Alpine we're flying over. So yeah, we might have a pretty good day once we get closer to Salt Lake. And it looks like the clouds starting to break up a little bit, so. So we got our ground speed at 157. The winds are staying about the same. We're actually going slower than the plane's indicating. We got 162 knot true airspeed and indicated 131. So this is when you wish you had a faster plane. We need to buy some planes. Not quite sure what to do when we're just hanging in the air for a couple hours. If we look at the single engine turboprop Cessna 208 Caravan, I think its ceiling's 2,500 or 25,000 feet. But it's not a fast plane. It can hold a lot. You can put a bunch of people, a bunch of weight on there, but it's really not a fast. I'm thinking, let me bring up a stats. I don't know if we want to jump into a turboprop. That's kind of, I think our next step should be getting the Beach Baron 58, get into a twin engine, because that's the next step up. Maybe when we land in Tooele, I've already checked, there's not one there, but maybe we can check around Salt Lake City, just check all the airports around there, and not even take if we can't get a cargo mission or just fly there for free just to buy a plane. Yeah, I don't think we'll do that, Cessna Caravan, not yet. That'll be our next step, and I would rather go into the TBM 930 and do the single engine turbo, because that'll be the next step above a twin. I usually go single engine piston, multi-engine piston, single engine turbo, multi-engine turbo, jet, and heavy. So there's our qualifications. I'm not quite sure the definition of heavy. I haven't flown anything heavy in this simulator. I know your 747 will be a heavy, but I'm not sure where you're like your 737, your A320, your A319. I don't know where them lie. That might be in the jet class. You get into the 747, 787, 777, them might all be considered heavies, and then your A320s, your 737s might just be classified as jet. I don't know how far we want to push this. Do we want to get into the airlines? Because then we can fly commercial airlines. I think we'll look for a Beech Baron 58G when we get to Salt Lake. Hopefully we can find one close by and make a quick little flight. Buy us a new plane. We'll have to do a check ride, pass the check ride, and then check rides are pretty easy. They just have you take off. They tell you to, well, trying to figure out what they want is the hardest things, because they tell you to go up, say 1,000 feet above ground level, and you go to 1,000 feet and they don't identify that you're there, so you got to figure out what they think your altitude should be. Then once you get there, then you do a 180 degree turn, and then they tell you to climb, do a 360 degree turn, drop, do a touch and go, do a pattern, and full stop landing. And you got to maintain your altitude that they give you. If you bust out of that altitude, you'll flunk. When you land, you can't land faster than 200 feet a minute, I think. So you got to have a pretty smooth landing, and you got to maintain your altitude and whatever heading they tell you. But most of the planes you do a check ride in has autopilot. You just plug everything on your autopilot, and the plane will pretty much guarantee you're gonna pass. If you want to hand fly it, like I'm sure you're supposed to, because when you do a check ride for real, you're hand flying the plane. So it depends on how good you are at flying that plane. And we are showing it is negative 26 degrees Celsius outside. It's cold up here. No idea what that is in Fahrenheit. Everything's Celsius for some reason. So you just live in a Celsius world, and nautical miles, you don't worry about Fahrenheit. You just know anything below 0 is cold, freezing, and anything above is not. So if you're 15, 20 above, it's nice and warm. 20, 26 below, it's cold. That's real technical. So we do have different views in our plane. I can drop us down and take a look outside the window. Not much to see in Wyoming. Between Wyoming and Utah, just rolling mountains and snow. I like to set up high so I can see over. Then I don't know if you want to know the gauges. This is our glass gauges. There's a lot of information here and here, but these are the old gauges. So if these ever fail, we still have airspeed, we still have our artificial horizon, and we still have our altitude. With these three gauges, you can pretty much, if these go out, we can still, these are all plumbed in old school, so we still have a limited amount of gauges, so we can actually still fly the plane. Then we can do, there's this. So this is basically our artificial horizon, and it actually shows you a picture outside. Here's our bank angle, so when we bank, this is our 45 degree. We want to stay within that. Excuse me. Here's our airspeed, indicated true airspeed. This is our degrees we're actually flying. Our autopilot route is actually 201 degrees, but since we got a 15 knot wind going this way, we got to turn 5 degrees into the wind so we maintain. And that just depends on if there's a more wind, we have to crab more. Barometric pressure, whatever that number that they give us from ATC, that's the number we make sure. And if you change this, this number changes. So that's why you got to keep adjusting that. And this is our altitude. That's our altitude plumbed in for our autopilot. I'm losing my voice. Okay, here's our outside temperature, outside air temperature, -26. And here's all our bugs. If we want to change this, we can have all different kind of layouts. I have it all set up. We can change from our GPS to a VOR radio. All them gauges we had on the other plane, I have here. I can just set them up. See, we could change this to a VOR. VOR number 2. Come on. And back to GPS. So we actually have all them gauges in the plane we had before. We just have to make our choice on what we want to see. Okay, this little green circle here, that's actually the direction of travel. Our plane is pointed here. We're not going this way, we're actually going this way. That does a calculation for our wind. Because our plane shows it's pointing to the right, because it has to fly right to compensate for the right to left wind. So we're looking this way, but we're flying that way. We're not going this way. And up here, we're flying from our waypoint DNW, and our next waypoint's Noob G. I can slaughter those pretty good. It's 88 miles, and our heading's at 201 degrees, which is there, but we're flying 206. And up here's our nav radios. We can tune into different frequencies, get them staged, and then when we hit activate, it'll flip over here. So we can have what we're working with right now and have one ready to switch over with a push a button. And we got a nav radio 1, nav radio 2, and over here is the exact same thing, but this is a communication. This is who we're talking to. So whenever they give us a frequency, we switch it here, push the button, activate, and it pops over there. And then of course we have all our dials to change frequencies here, barometric pressure, our course, the range, and we have flight plan, so we can bring up procedures. We'll do that here in a bit, so we'll just get rid of that. So that's that one. So we can go over to number 2. Here's our map. So here's all our engine information. We have our manifold, and that's pretty much what I got it set with the throttle. We went over this. Got my prop set. Here's our fuel flow gallons per hour. Doesn't tell you what it is, but we're on the high side of the green. Our oil pressure is in the green. Our oil temp's in the green. And our cylinder head temperature. And as we lean and richen, these will go up the closer to lean and then fall back down. And then also with your TIT temperature. Here's our fuel quantity, left and right tank. Here's our engine hours, and we only have 1.3 hours on this. And here's our electrical bus. So here's our volts, our battery, everything's good there. So that's our, and then just, these are different airports. Here's KID, so that's Idaho Falls. There's Pocatello. We flew out of Aberdeen to Idaho Falls to Driggs. So yeah, if we need to divert, LGU, I believe that is Logan, Utah Airport. Yep, LGU is Logan. BMC should be Brigham City. So if we need to divert to, this is probably Kimmer, Wyoming, Pocatello, Idaho Falls, MUO, not quite sure what that would be. Probably Mountain Home, maybe. So if we had an emergency, the closest airport right now, but if we bring our range in, let's bring it in closer. See, now we start seeing more. We start seeing airspace restrictions, closer airports, and the closer we bring it in, the more information comes available to us. Because now we can see really small airports. So if I had an engine lost, I know there's an airport. This is a 10 nautical mile, but it's only 5 miles because this is a 10 nautical mile circle around the plane, so it's actually only 5 miles. So about 6 miles we have a airport. So if I have an engine failure, I would turn the plane immediately that way and see how close we can get. You have your maps, ops, so we can turn our weather on. Next rad, I don't know if it's going to show us if there's any weather. Just scale out, see if it shows. Yep. And we tried our legend. Oh, there's our legend. So yeah, black to 2,000 feet, greens 2,000 to 1, yellows 1,000 to 5, and 5 is to the ground. So you can have that on if you want. You can actually shut that off so it's only black. You can have a topo, so what's dark is higher, what's lower gets lighter, then green, then blue. I mean, you could change it to whatever you want. I kind of like that relative to the ground. Kind of just gets you more information that you may not need. And that's basically the Baja of California. So this shows you, this is the Pacific Ocean. That shows you how far out it really goes. So we don't need that much information. We'll do 50. Okay, so this brings us down to here. Here is our autopilot. So that's your on and off. That's your heading button if you want to do heading or nav or approach. And then our altitude, up and down, barometric. So that's just a very simple autopilot. Here's our flap setting. Here's our heater control. Pull them in and out to make it warmer or cold. There's our mixture. There's our prop, throttle. Whenever I say I'm trimming the plane, this is what I'm actually moving, and it's actually moving because of the autopilot. The autopilot's making small adjustments to keep the plane. And then we can use a rudder adjustment to get the trim, your yaw trim. And then here's your old school radio, but everybody has headsets and a mic. And your cowling opens up to get your air into your engine, or closes up. So we want it closed right now because it is cold outside. Okay, back to that. What else does it show us? Okay, here's our master switches, avionics switches, and all our switches for our lights outside. Don't know why my pitot heat's off. That needs to be on, because if this ever freezes up, the computer's not going to get proper airspeed measurements and we can die. Okay, here's our fuel. I can run off of one tank, run off the other tank. I just pull off of both at the same time. Okay, here's all our fuses. Something trips, these pop out. And back to the dash. So that's a quick little tour of what the dashboard is. Oh, and this little thing right here is just a quartz. Shows you the hours on the plane. But we also have one here, so 1.3, and that should be reading 1.3. It only counts when the engine's running, so. Oh, and I forgot, when we were on the map right here, it has the same nav. So this basically could be for your co-pilot. They can switch your nav radios. Because a lot of times if you have somebody sitting beside you, they might share the workload. A lot of pilots, like their wives, will take care of the radio. They'll do all of the communication, and the pilot will fly, the co-pilot will take care of the radios. Just share the load. Or if the person sat beside you have no experience, then they can just sit there and enjoy the view, and the pilot has to do it all. But here's our ground speed, so it's showing us a little more information on our navigational map. We've changed a degree, so it's dropped to 200 degrees, and we're still doing the 206. Oops, I was messing around and I touched a button and actually shut it off. I was looking at our magenta line. We were heading away, so turned back into the line. Now I got my... Always be paying attention to what your plane's telling you. So we're doing 163 ground speed compared to our 163 true, 130 true indicated, and we still got a 16 knot side wind. This just shows us the degrees where we want to be, 200, and for us to maintain the 200, that's our track, and we got to fly 205 to maintain. And then to our next waypoint is 22 minutes 35 seconds. See, now before with this glass cockpit, we were just flying VOR headings, and we would calculate it on the ground and put it on our flight plan and in our lap, and we would have estimated time. but we wouldn't know for sure. This is calculated constantly, so it's given us a pretty, doesn't mean it's going to take us 22 minutes. If the winds shift and blow us, we'll get there faster. If the wind switches, becomes a headwind, it'll just be longer. And as I descend, I'll gain airspeed. This number goes down, so it's constantly adjusting. It just gives you an estimated time. So while we're doing that, we check the weather. Everything's kind of cool. Let's drop down to this. This is our flight plan that we have IFR, but I'm going to go ahead and I want to do a procedure approach. So I want this. Okay, here's our procedure approach, and it kind of shows us. I want to do the RNAV 17 because we know the winds are calm, and if the winds pick up, we can do a visual 35. But let's plug in our RNAV. So we want that one, and now we remember off of our approaches that we wanted EMONT, correct? Okay, I'm gonna go back into my I move back out. Let's do RNAV approach 17 and EMONT. That's the one we want.
Tango Echo Romeo, contact Salt Lake Center on 135.775. Good day.
Okay.
Going to 135.775 Tango Echo Romeo. Salt Lake Center, Sierra Kilo Echo, Echo Tango Echo Romeo, 16,000 feet.
Sierra Kilo Echo Echo Tango Echo Romeo, Salt Lake Center, altimeter 30.3 flight, continue to NUP, just planned.
Okay, see, our barometer has changed. It's 3.5 instead of 2.0 now, so I'm gonna go ahead and adjust that. Seeing it, now we're 200 feet above because of our barometric change. So that's why we gotta constantly changing that. Because once you get above 18,000 feet, this goes to a standardized 299 for every plane. That way above 18,000 feet, everybody's on the same, and you don't have to keep adjusting your barometric pressure. That way you keep your separations. Okay, let's go back over here. So we definitely want the EMONT. If we were coming from the south, we could hit these, but we're gonna want EMONT. Okay, we can put our minimums in here. I don't think we're not gonna do it. So this just basically tells you EMONT to widget, Jonah to runway, and then it also goes back to our missed approach. So it's gonna thumb through all those. And if we were really doing an IFR, we'd put our minimums in there. So okay, we're gonna load and activate it. I'm just gonna activate it. We're out here. It's not gonna change our course that much. So we're gonna activate it. And we're just gonna turn a little bit. So there. Now we've got a full picture right there. It shows all your controlled airspaces. Top of descent. And so there, it's all plugged in. It's going to fly us right to the runway now. So we were at a 200-degree heading, and now we're at a 192, so it changed at 8 degrees. Not a big deal. But now we are all set up to land. Now if we didn't have a glass cockpit, we'd have to have this all figure out how we want to do it, but now the information's right in front of us. We're 62.5 miles from our next waypoint, which is EMONT, which we know from my plate right here that the altitude's 8,100 feet, and it shows you right here. So we got 62 miles. We need to be at 8,100 feet, so we got to lose half of our altitude. And we're going to be at that waypoint in 22 minutes. And we're doing 162 knots now. So depending on our rate of descent, you can calculate it out. If we do 1,000 feet per minute, it's going to take us approximately 8 minutes to get to that 8,100 foot altitude. If you do 500 feet per minute, you just double that. Simple math. So it'll be 16 minutes to hit that altitude. So if we're thinking 16, 15 minutes to be at that altitude in that period of time, which will, as we decrease our altitude, our airspeed is going to increase, this number is going to go down. So right around the 15-minute mark, if I want a nice, easy, cool descent at 500 feet, we'll probably will start descending around 15 minutes out, which we're supposed to only be at 900. And we can do 7, which would be right in between your 8 and 16. So you just do like a 12-minute. It doesn't have to be exact, but we really don't want to spend a lot of time. I don't want to drop down and be right in the middle of these clouds for 10 minutes. That's not going to be a good idea. So if I knew the tops of the clouds, hopefully they'll disappear in the next 6 minutes. We got 6-7 minutes to play. And this is where you get real busy. If you're in a jet and you're doing 300, well, we could, if we were at altitude right now, we'd be doing 500 miles at knots at ground speed. So we're doing 5 times faster than what we're doing right now, 4 times faster. So like I say, you get real busy 100 miles out of your airport in these little planes. And I'm so programmed to start doing stuff so far out that we got 20 minutes. And if I was in my good plane, we'd cut that in half, would be to 10 minutes. So it's best to stay way ahead of your plane. And you pretty much have this all done on the ground before you take off. In the sim world, you can just get up and make all these adjustments in the air. It gives you something to do. But it doesn't look like it's clearing up. But to do a proper RNAV, we need 81, so hopefully 8,100 feet is below the clouds, because we'll have to stay IFR until we do that. And ATC is fantastic of keeping you way too high. They want you to drop like a rock, and today we might have to. Because if I was flying VFR right now, we could do whatever we want, but we're still in IFR conditions to get to the ground if we want to keep our heading. I could move off to the right. You can see holes in the clouds, and I can dive down and get below the clouds and then pick up the RNAV at lower. Let's just see what it does. So in 40 minutes or so, we should be on the ground, safe and sound. And it's 10:41 in the morning where we're at. The clock on the dash gives us UTC time, and it says 17:41:27. But we're at 20 to 11, so we're still in the morning time. And we're burning fuel, still good. Fuel tank's still plenty in it. So we got to remember that we were first, our first flight plan, we were logged at 9,000 feet, so we are 7,000 feet above our assigned altitude, so they really don't adjust accordingly to get us down in time. They still think we're at 9, even though we requested 16. So it's kind of up to us, because we're at the 17-minute mark now. So I got a few more minutes. If we can get over this cloud bank ahead of us, and then I'll start requesting lower altitudes to get. Because I believe in their little world, they think that we only got to drop 900 feet, because we're supposed to be at 9,000. They're going to drop 900. They don't quite realize we're setting it. 7,000 feet to drop, or 8,000 feet. But we gotta get through these clouds first. We just went over Logan, so we got another mountain pass to get into the Salt Lake Valley. We can't see in front of us, but right here on our right hand side is another mountain ridge. So we have a mountain ridge we just went over, and then this shows you a little valley. So that's Logan Valley. Then we got another mountain range, and then there's Brigham City. Salt Lake's right ahead of us. So excuse me. So we know we got another mountain range. I got to fly over it. It's all covered with clouds. So there's about 3 things that keeps us safe. We have ground here somewhere, we have clouds, plus the clouds have icing. So there's 3 good reasons to stay. But we know 9,000 feet would have probably got us over the mountains. I think I'm not quite sure what the tops are. But we're all green, so we know we're all black, so we know we're just fine and dandy. But I want to stay at this altitude as long as I possibly can. So I'll bring this in to 40 miles, bring it in. It gets quite busy at 25, so there's 15. Okay, here's the mountain ridge, so we're pretty much going over the mountains again, and the clouds are rising towards us, so we might start collecting ice again. The minute I see icing, it either starts right here or on this side of the plane. This is usually the last part, but if I see any icing here, we're gonna drop as far down as we can, at least to the 81, to make sure we don't pick up ice. Because the question I have is, if I start picking up ice now, and if I drop altitude, is there any place lower that I will lose my icing? Because if I ice up all the way to the ground, my choices just went out the window. I don't have a choice. If I can climb above the clouds and get out of the icing, we have options. The higher we go, if we can get above the clouds. The clouds could go all the way to the ground as far as I know. I could see they don't. So I don't think we're going to have that problem. But we're still, okay, we're at our 13-minute mark, so we're going to go over this next little bank of clouds and then probably start requesting my descent. Because then we're definitely going to be past that mountain range, and as long as we're above the 8,100 foot mark, we know we're going to be good. Okay, let's go ahead and request a decrease. Let's go down to 10,000. So we want to drop. See if it does it right. We want to decrease 6,000 feet.
Salt Lake Center Tango Echo Romeo. Request 10,000 feet.
Tango Echo Romeo, descend and maintain 10,000 feet.
Okay.
Descend and maintain 10,000 feet Tango Echo Romeo.
So what I'm going to do is change my...
Tango Echo Romeo, descend and maintain 13,000 feet.
I have no idea why he's doing that to me. Okay, it's going to get
Descend
stupid
and
on
maintain
us.
13,000 feet Tango Echo Romeo.
Okay, I'm going to do a 700 foot per minute descent. There's the Great Salt Lake in front of us. I don't know what. They're going to change our altitude 50 times between here and there. If we get below the clouds, I can just cancel IFR and do our RNAV approach like we want to. Okay, I haven't done any... I'm going to give it a little more mixture. But I'm just going to let the airspeed rise because we're... You see this yellow arc coming at about 168 knots. We can go into that yellow arc, but we can't do any aggressive maneuvers in that yellow arc because now we're starting to stress the airframe. So if you got smooth air, you can go all the way to the red. But if you do any kind of turns, banking, you want to be well out of that yellow. But that just increases our ground speed because see, we're back up to 175 ground speed. And it's dropping our time quite fast. Now we're down to 9 minutes to get down to 8,100 feet. But at 700 feet, it's a nice, comfortable descent. Our ears aren't going to be popping too bad. We get below 14,000 feet, we can disconnect our oxygen. We don't need that anymore. Okay, now that we're getting close to landing, I got plenty of fuel, so we don't have to worry about it. We're pulling off of both tanks. I'll go ahead and... oh, that's the switch. Okay, whenever I do my taxi lights, it shuts my pitot heat off. It's not a good thing. So I got both nav lights on, both landing lights and taxi lights. It's just two lights side by side on. Strobe, beacon, nav are on. Okay, pretty much our descent checklist is done. We are signed into our nav. So once I drop below this cloud ahead of us, we'll cancel IFR. Because he wants to stop us right in the middle of this cloud. Let's see what he does. It'll be interesting to see if they kill us or not. He knows we need to be at 8,100. Well, he doesn't because they haven't given us the choice to say, let's do the RNAV. He's basically going to fly us with our plan we put in there, and we've already changed our mind. In the real world, we could tell him, let's do the RNAV approach, and then he'd know exactly what altitude to give us, but we can't do that. If I'd have put it in my flight plan, but it's kind of hard to pick your approach when you're starting your flight because you really don't know what the weather is. If you tune the weather to what you want, you can do that, but I fly real weather, so we can't really identify what approach we want to do until we get there to see what the winds are doing. So that's why we just cheat a little bit. Okay, it is negative 24 degrees Celsius and we're flying right into a cloud. We're going to pick up ice. And we already requested 10,000 feet, so we want to be See what he says if we request. He'll probably deny us for some reason. It's probably airspace.
Salt Lake Center Tango Echo Romeo.
Oh,
Request 7,000 feet.
Sierra Kilo
denied.
Echo Tango Echo Romeo, request denied.
So you see, there's a glitch there. It's going off the 10,000 feet I requested. They've told me to go to 13. Okay, there's some weather that just popped up on my right screen, the green. That's the weather. So when you see green, my buddy will get a kick out of this. He's texting me right now. Or he tried to call me, so hi Lynn. I just told him I'm busy. See what's going on. Okay, we're down to 5 minutes, 14 miles to my next waypoint where we need to be at 8,100 feet. He's going to make this difficult on me. See how much ice we accumulate flying through this cloud. Okay, I'm texting and flying, so making lunch plans with my buddy. He'll get a kick out of this because he'll watch this and he'll know exactly what I was doing. Okay, we're 3 minutes out of our waypoint and we're still stuck at this altitude. I don't know why. I got it.
Echo Romeo, contact Salt Lake Center on 128.55. Good day.
Good day. Okay, hopefully this will drop us.
Going to 128.55 Tango Echo Romeo.
Okay.
Salt Lake Center Sierra Kilo Echo Echo Tango Echo Romeo 13,000 feet.
Sierra Kilo Echo Echo Tango Echo Romeo, Salt Lake Center, altimeter 30.33, continue to Mont as planned. Tango Echo Romeo, you are tree 4 miles north. Descend and maintain 8,100 feet. Expect ILS runway 17 approach via Mont transition. Cleared to Mont.
Okay, they gave us an ILS.
Maintain 8,100 feet. Expect ILS runway 17 approach via Mont transition. Cleared to Mont Tango Echo Romeo.
We're actually on the RNAV, so I'm not going to switch it. We're just going to do an RNAV for right now. I'm going to plug in my 8,100 feet, and we're going to drop. Okay, I need to come back. We need to slow down now. Cleaned up on my approach. Okay, we'll start our gums. We don't have no gear. We got mixture. We got prop. So I'm richening my mixture up a little bit because we're gonna drop. Gonna go full max on my prop. Go a little richer on my mixture. So we got gums. Gear, undercarriage, mixture, prop, safety. I keep dropping off the safety. That's when you make sure your seat belts are tight, your doors are closed. I don't have doors or a seat belt. I'm perfectly safe in my simulated chair. But we're 3.9 miles, 1 minute 30 second, and I need to be down. And we're in the clouds. So this is IFR. We could fly all the way to the runway exactly like this and not see outside and feel safe. Could care less. As long as I get down, let's increase. Okay, now I'm going down 1,000 feet per minute, which is it's not a big deal, but it's just not as, you'll be popping your ears faster, or more often, I should say.
Tango Echo Romeo climb and maintain 12,000 feet.
Oh, see, we're not doing that, Bubba. Okay. I'll acknowledge.
Climb and maintain 12,000 feet Tango Echo Romeo.
This is when the ATC just becomes a pain, so I'm going to go ahead and cancel
Salt Lake Center,
IFR.
Tango Echo Romeo would like to cancel IFR.
Really shouldn't. I'm in a cloud right
Tango
now.
Echo Romeo IFR flight plan is canceled. Radar service terminated. Squawk 1200. Maintain VFR. Frequency change approved. Good day.
Okay. So now we know we're going to go to, let's go ahead and tune in. Okay, our plane's turning in. Here's our TVY, that's, okay. Let's hit our automated weather. We're turning into approach.
Tango Victor Yankee automated weather observation 1700 Zulu. Wind 339 at 7. Visibility
'Kay.
10.
Few clouds.
Few clouds of 2,900 feet, ceiling 5,000 feet overcast. Temperature -5 C dew point, 10 C altimeter 3033.
Okay. Everything's great. We're gonna go ahead. We're gonna land runway. Probably should turn around and land the other way, but we'll make because our winds are actually the opposite direction of what we're flying. I don't know why they tell us to do 17. We'll just tell them we're
Kilo
on
Tango
Fino.
Victor Yankee, traffic Sierra Kilo Echo Echo Tango Echo Romeo is on final runway 17 to land.
So you would have to stay with IFR. Can't be in the clouds at all. Okay, lunch plans are made. Let's just get this bad boy on the ground so I can get out of here. I'm hungry. Okay, we missed our first waypoint, so now we're going to go to Widget, which is 8,100 feet. So we should have been at 8,100 at Emont, 8,100 at Widget. Widget is 8 miles away, 3 minutes, so we'll be fine. And would be in big trouble if we weren't IFR right now, but I don't know why they were climbing us to 12. They just, when you get close to an airport, the default ATC just has you go up and down, down and up. The minute we got to 12, would drop to 8, down to 6, back up to 8. It just gets annoying as hell. I don't know why they have it that way, so we just pretend like we're still IFR flying, and we just don't need to talk to them, because... Okay, there's our 8,100 feet. So we're right on the approach. Our nav 17 with a 7-knot tailwind. Yay! That's not how you're supposed to do it. Okay, so right now I'm gonna go ahead and push approach. So now my nav system has gone to, you get 3 different decisions to make. You can do a heading, which you choose what heading, navigation, and now we're doing an approach. So now the computer is going to maintain our altitude. It's basically going to fly the plane right to the ground. So it should automatically descend for us now, and we're just going to monitor our airspeed. See, our glide slope excuse me. Our glide slope has just come in. So we know we're at 8,100 feet. That's exactly where we're supposed to be. In 3.4 miles, we're going to start our descent, and the computer should all take care of that. If not, I'd hand fly it and just keep that glide slope on. We don't need to see our little white and red lights at the runway anymore. We've got all the information in our cockpit now. And then about, I don't know, half a mile, just when everything looks good, I'll take the autopilot off and go ahead and land the plane. I just let the autopilots do its thing. So the airport should be right in front of us. Looks like we're gonna make a nice little, probably 20 degree turn. Oh, there's the runway right there. I see the high intensity edge lights. So there's our runway. The plane's gonna turn into that here, which is gonna turn that tailwind into more of a crosswind. So we have our visual. And we know we're going to start to descend here at Wiggett. Okay, there's our turn. Okay, we got our prop. Let's just go ahead and start slowing our speed down, because when we start descending, we want to have some flap out. It's going to keep us at 8,100 feet for a second, but once we start, and I don't want to come back up my power too much, because then the cylinders cool way too fast and it can mess your motor up, so I can't go just full idle or it'll do damage to the motor, so you really gotta. So I want at least 1 notch. There we go. We're right there. So there's 1 notch of flap. The plane's gonna automatically, now I can add a little throttle and just keep us below the 80. Okay. There's our glide slope it wants us. It should be descending us now. There we go. Now we're going down. Now basically, the plane's going to do its pitch to keep the altitude that we're supposed to be at, and I have to maintain airspeed. And that's basically with flaps and throttle. I want to keep going a little faster. I could slow down right now, but it'd just take us forever. We got 93 ground speed knots right now. So yeah. We do have quite a bit of tailwind, but that's... I got plenty of runway, so if I had a small runway, we definitely would take the time and go farther downwind and land the other direction on the visual 3.5. But probably the closer we get to the ground, a knot or two really doesn't do a difference. Because it has us at a 500-foot descent right now, so that's pretty comfortable. And our next one's going to be at 6,100 feet, and that's at Jonik. And then Jonik, we're 2.7 miles away from Jonik, 1 minute 45 seconds. And probably at Jonik, I'll hit another notch of flaps and we'll start to get our airspeed under control, because we don't want to land at 78 knots. We want to land at 65. For some reason it looks like we're really high for the runway, but we're on glide slope, so. And the field elevation is what? 4322. So we're still 2,000 feet high. And I see the white light, so it shows us we're at a high glide slope right now for the VASI lights at the airport. But as long as we got the autopilot, our nav should fly us right in there. Okay, 25 seconds to Jonik, whatever you want to say it. Then from Jonik, we are 5.6 miles to the end of the runway. 4 seconds to change. That blinking white light on mine tells you, okay. Let's just switch to the next one. We got 5.5 miles to the runway. Be there in 3 minutes, 48 seconds. Okay, I'm gonna just go ahead and hit one more notch of flaps. The plane's going to adjust. It's gonna slow us down. Now I just want to maintain the 65 knots with my throttle. Gonna go a little more mixture. That's the last time I'll touch my mixture, because now we are close enough to the ground to where we're rich enough. Okay, now I just before I would use my throttle to do my altitude. Now my plane's gonna keep my altitude, and now my throttle's just gonna do airspeed. And once I get a close enough airspeed to where I want to be, hands off, the plane's actually trimmed. Slight little adjustments to get it, because I'm down to 64 knots and I want 65. So it shows us still quite high. If you look at the airport lights, I see 2 white lights, which means we're still well above the glide slope. Looks like we got a snow-covered runway. And let's take a look at Tooele. It's really not going to show us a picture of the airport at all, so. So all our elevation changes on our screen. We got a lot of red, yellow, green, and black. Okay, it shows us on glide slope on my instruments, but it shows me way high above on our VASI lights. So we're still 2.5 miles out. Going over I-80 right now. A little bit of icing starting on my left window. Oh, we got this. Definitely going to land. My speed's bled down a little bit, so let's get that going. And that could have just been by the icing, might have slowed us down. We might come in just a little bit hotter than we should if we can't tell if it's icing or not. We'll come in a little faster than usual. Oh, I can't tell. That might be too red, too white. Just didn't see the red. Now I see red lights. And that's right here. Yep, we're right on glide slope. Too red, too white. I could only see the white lights way out. Okay. And this is about where I'm going to push the button and hand fly it. So autopilot's off. And now I'll make the adjustments accordingly. Oh, there's I-80 right there. No, that has to be a highway. I don't think I-80's this close to the airport. That must be the Grantsville. Okay, I got 3 red, 1 white, so I'm a little bit low. I'll just trim to go up a little bit, which will bleed some of my speed. Wow, I have no runway indications whatsoever. Okay, we're getting close. We're about to our runway and we're to our 65, so perfect. I'm just gonna flare up a little bit.
Transporter from dispatch. Nice landing. Go to the
Not
next
really.
parking and put your parking brake on. I'll be in touch.
That was a horrible landing. My dog started barking, so it distracted me. Flared a little late. Alright. It's a little jerky too. I think it's just because I didn't restart my computer. Okay, here's a taxiway. I don't like the way this plane sits. We gotta go buy a new plane. Oh, it shows us taxiway, but it goes right into the weeds. Perfect. Now we're off-roading. I thought we had a taxiway there, but apparently we didn't. Let's see what our... Nope, shows us a... maybe a... could have been, but we're off, but... Oh well. Here's our taxiway. Now we're legal. Okay, let's just find us a place to park. There's a fuel island, so if you want fuel, you can just park there and it automatically fuels your plane. That's a TBM 930 to our left, that blue plane. That's the one we want to fly. That's fast and fun. Single engine turboprop. But we'll play with a multi-engine. Alright, let's just park it here. Set our brake.
Transporter.
Shut her down.
Disembarking of passengers can begin.
Let's get a view outside. Yeah, we got a little icing. But not enough to worry about. Oh, I still have my flap up. Let's just raise my flaps. You can see them. There's our flaps on our wings. We could drop our flaps. There's full flap.
Transporter. All the passengers have disembarked. Good job. See you soon.
Alright. Raise our flaps. And this shows you our ailerons. This one goes up. The one goes down. Elevators and rudder. So yeah, all the surfaces work. Get a nice little view for a screenshot. We could choose whatever we want. Okay. We are done. I I'm shutting all my switches off, which closes that out. Hey, it actually showed us taking off and landing, an hour and 41 minutes in the air. I'm up to 720. Okay, let's close this out. Get to NeoFly. And then I've got to go do lunch. Since it's a Friday, might have a cocktail. Wait, go away. Oh, I don't want that up. Boom. There we go. Let's go to our log. Okay, we had a okay flight, our first one. Perfect, and we lost. Oh, our comfort bonus. Oh no. What did we lose? Oh, our soft landing. Yeah, that was a abrupt landing, I would have to say so. Okay, we got paid $20,000. Yeah, that was a horrible landing. So everything's still the same. Our plane's in the hangar. Everything's perfect. No damage. I'm 390. I'll rank up at 1,000, so nothing changed there. And we got A320. I'd like to see that take off. There's that Grand Caravan for 1.3 million. Don't think we need that. I think we'll look for that twin engine Baron around the Salt Lake City area. I'll find that. We'll fly over there, we'll grab that, we'll do a check ride, and that'll be our next great adventure. So other than that, I think we're done. We shall see you next time. See ya. Bye.